I've cut down a lot of virtual trees and mined a lot of virtual stone in a lot of virtual games. So if you want to come along and try to add yet another game into that pile, then you'd better bring something unique to the party. For example, a game like No Man's Island does not. Just look at this trailer. Whoa, 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 hang on. You're telling me that I can gather resources and craft? Rift Game Studio changing the game up in here, man. I first tried Core Keeper during the summer of 2022, and while it was clearly polished for an early access game, I just couldn't help but feel like I had done all this before. I wound up putting it away pretty quickly. Lately, I've been having a hankering for a survival crafting experience, so I thought I'd pick it up again, give it another chance. And I gotta tell you, the moment that I was convinced this was gonna be something special was right at the title screen. Consider the good first impression absolutely nailed. This theme and the soundtrack in general invokes feelings of wonderment and fantasy. It made me excited to dive into this subterranean realm and uncover whatever secrets it holds. And the first thing you do is craft your pickaxe, shovel, a bunch of torches, a workbench. Look, I get that some genres have mechanics that just have to be included for them to work. Side-scrolling platformers need a jump, first-person shooty bangs need guns, erotic visual novels need, well, you know. But that doesn't change the fact that so much of the early game here feels utterly trite. And of course, that could just be a me problem. If you haven't poured over 200 hours in Terraria and other games like this, then maybe you'll be just fine with it. While Core Keeper does play it very safe with the typical survival crafting fare, there are ways in which it removes some of the tedium. Ranged weapons don't need ammo, you don't need to burn wood to keep the furnace or cooking pot functioning, and fishing doesn't even require bait, though it is still there if you want to boost certain percentages. Man, this is nice, but if the goal was to make things less tedious, then I say go all the way with it. The act of planting seeds in tilled land and watering them isn't exactly dopamine inducing, so just make crops regenerate after every harvest. Make it so that ore smelts much faster so I don't have to alt-tab while waiting for my iron to finish cooking. And make mine carts spawn by clicking on rail tracks so I don't have to carry one around all the time. And for the love of God, please have a way to teleport back to your spawn point earlier. There is a one-time use item that you can craft, but it isn't unlocked until after beating the first 3 bosses, and it doesn't even take you back to your spawn point. Not ideal. Lighting is a constant annoyance. The radius of torches is tiny, forcing me to craft like 300 of them at a time and haphazardly place them everywhere just to be able to see. And the nicer torches I found in some abandoned structures have an even smaller radius. That doesn't make any sense. And I am so sick of these games not doing this. If I have a storage chest in the general vicinity of a crafting table of some sort, then please just take the materials from it for me. Don't make me go rooting around for items. Yes, I am aware that a chest placed directly next to a table has that effect, but I think that's needlessly restrictive. Make it a 5x5 area or something. But that's all just minor gripes. That's small potatoes. The main appeal of this kind of game is exploration. You know, going spelunking and finding all kinds of crazy stuff. Maybe even stumbling across a boss or two. I'm probably ready for this guy.
I wasn't ready! I wasn't ready!
So, in the 12 hours I spent with Core Keeper, how was the exploration? Sorry, but I found it pretty lackluster. It didn't take very long before I experienced everything the starting biome had to offer. There's just not enough stuff yet. It's like a hamburger with no meat, you know? Where's the beef?
Where's the beef? Where's the beef?
Before finishing your first hour in Terraria, you can find potions, shurikens, bombs, rope, trinkets, accessories, money, a yo-yo, boomerang, all kinds of stuff. In this game, any excitement I felt when discovering a chest was pretty quickly doused. Like opening a Christmas present and getting socks. The only difference is I don't have to smile and pretend to be grateful. I can make a YouTube video and gripe about it. You get 2 ring slots, which is perfect since early on there's only 2 very boring rings you can put in them. You used to only get 1 offhand slot with a scant few items to put in it, but thankfully the folks at Pugstorm wised up and added a separate slot for a lantern. There's barely any armor or weapons to choose from. I didn't finally get something really interesting till after beating the second boss. These meager offerings early on create an attitude of, well, if it's not interesting now, why should I trust it to get interesting later? The leveling system is wholly uninteresting too. Extremely negligible upgrades that barely make any difference in the gameplay. They're so dull that I'd rather the game just handled them for me. The formula for progression becomes clear quickly. Go out and dig until you get a bunch of ore, craft the best equipment you can, beat the boss, and do it all again for the next tier. Most of my time was spent tediously searching for ore. You grind and grind for resources that let you move up in the game, and every once in a while something kinda cool or interesting will happen. Oh dude, I found a go-kart racetrack! Well anyway, back to work. I think Core Keeper is trying to be an allegory for life. And as for the bosses, they're pretty boring too, with the exception of the Hive Mother, which just straight up irritated me with how you're basically required to eat food that negates acid damage. And there's two problems with that. One, I wasn't even aware you could get acid immunity until I looked it up in a guide, and two, it requires fishing for the right ingredient, and fishing isn't normally a vital mechanic in these kinds of games. So I can see lots of players disregarding it and having difficulty with this fight until they get fed up and consult a guide. An easy fix would be to have acid immunity potions that drop in chests. So I defeated the first 3 bosses and was granted access to all new zones farther out on the map. I was already over it, but I decided to give the game one last chance and check out the new areas. That's when I found this really beautiful grassy zone with nice music and light shining down on underground lakes. And you know what the majority of my time here was spent doing? That's right, mining for ore. Alright, look, I know this is a survival crafting game, but I'd like to direct your attention to the Metroidvania style genre for a sec. These aren't exactly the most compelling gameplay-wise either. All you do is walk around, exploring rooms, and whacking enemies with your weapon of choice. What makes these games so beloved is that they make taking out enemies and exploration satisfying. You find so much stuff in these games, with the most interesting being souls from Aria and Dawn of Sorrow. Just the existence of these souls makes every defeated enemy a dopamine hit, because there's always a chance of getting something cool that can change the way you play for the next few hours. Core Keeper needs something like that. The piddly little drops from enemies do almost nothing to make me view them as anything other than an annoyance that's keeping me from hunting down ore. Not that hunting for ore is very compelling either. How about instead of the current boring leveling system, make it so that all equipment can level up and gain stat bonuses and effects? Like maxing out the level on a sword lets you throw it like a boomerang, or max level on the slime sword lets you summon slime familiars to fight for you. A system like this would make enemy encounters much more appealing. Oh boy, maybe murdering these cavelings will finally level up my armor. And this could be taken even further by breaking down a max level item to get a gem or something that can transfer its ability and stat buffs to another weapon. Or how about instead of the extremely boring set bonuses for wearing the rock and stone rings, nice reference by the way, wearing them makes pickaxes affect a 3x3 tile area in front of the player, with leveling up increasing the size even further. Mining should not be this tedious after finishing the early game biomes. All I'm trying to say here is that Core Keeper has built the framework for an excellent game, but it's just not there yet, hence the early access. It looks great, sounds great, and it's not janky or buggy. It really is a hamburger with all the fixins, but no meat to bring it all together.
Where's the beef?
Put some meat on this game's bones, Pugstorm. Make the idea of going exploring exciting, and I'll happily pick up my pickaxe once again. Hey, thanks very much for watching. Please become a spooky scary subscriber, and I'll see you next time on the Bone Zone. This is A Skeleton signing out.